Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the 10K Project. Tonight's Bet on Black pitch is a return founder. Daryl Pickens was our 5th guest in 2021. So we are super excited to have him back for his 2nd raise with Relay on Demand. We're going to turn it over to Daryl in a moment, but first I'm going to show you his campaign page. This time around, we were just talking about the fact that Daryl is actually on WeFunder. So we'll be putting that link in the chat throughout the evening for you. So you don't have to worry about that. All right, I'm sharing my screen. You can see Daryl's campaign has already raised $177,000, a little over $177,000. He's got 22,170 left in the early bird terms. So remember, early bird terms are always preferable terms to encourage you to invest early instead of waiting for the campaign to get closer to the end. So this is to encourage you to invest early. So please consider that. This is a priced round. The valuation is 26 million. That's the pre-money valuation. And then there are also some investor perks, right? And so, you know, I always kind of scan through the page so you can see where everything is. It's important to look through the entire campaign page. I always tell you, the founders spend so much time putting this together to make sure all of the information you need is there. So please take the time to read everything so you can see the team. The pitch deck information is here, and I'm sure Daryl will go over a lot of that information. Tonight, we're obviously going to be asking a lot of questions, but if you think of some later that you didn't think to ask now, then you want to go here to the ask a question section. You can already see Daryl has quite a few questions already. So this is a nice place for you to go and see what questions are people already asking. You know, Mike Kennedy has a good question here. For investors already holding a crowd safe from the first raise on Republic, will it roll over or be converted to shares? So, you know, these are the kind of questions that people are asking, and they're always very helpful. And so, you know, please take a look at those. But as I stated, we'll be putting this link in the chat throughout the evening so that you can have it, share it with your friends. You don't even have to wait till the session's over to share it with your friends. Share it with some of them now. Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to reintroduce you to Mr. Daryl Pickens. Again, for anyone who just jumped on, Daryl was with us last year. He was founder number 5 on our calendar. We were so excited to have Daryl, and he blew us away in 2021. And I can only imagine what the year has brought, because he was on fire then and had a lot of great plans in an industry that we know, you know, is, in my opinion, is the foundation of living, right? I mean, we can't get all those things we love to buy if Daryl wasn't doing what he does. So Daryl, I'm gonna hand it over to you. And please tell us everything Relay on Demand has been doing since you last visited us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back on the 10K Project pitch. It was awesome last time, and what I appreciated, you know, was the support from the community and the family that, you know, invested in our last round, and I thought that was awesome. And, you know, I was telling Tawana earlier, our goal is to really fund Relay to $1 billion company by the people, right? So if we can avoid it, we don't really want to go to, you know, the traditional venture capitalist way. Our goal is to build a generation of millionaires. Our truck drivers, our carriers, our community, our family, that's all invested in Relay. And so over the last year has been awesome. We've, you know, just a quick snapshot, we've tripled our revenue since the last round. We've added twice as many drivers. We're over 2,000 drivers on the network now. We expanded into multiple states, and we have our foot on the gas, and we're continuing to go. And so what I wanted to do today, Tawana, is just for some of the folks who may not have, because I know you guys have been doing awesome things and growing. And so for some of the folks who may have not been a part of the pitch last time or know about Relay, I'm going to go through our pitch from last time, but updated. And then, you know, feel free to ask any questions once I finish it. All right, guys.
All right.
All right, so let me share my screen here. And let's get it started. All right. So I'm the CEO and founder of Relay on Demand. Well, first of all, let me just make sure. Tawana, can you see my screen?
I cannot yet, no.
Let's see. Before.
There we go.
Okay, you got it now?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'm the founder and CEO of Relay on Demand. All right. So what's the problem that we're solving? One, the trucking industry is huge and it has an $800 billion driver shortage problem. I'm sure everybody's heard about it. The COVID and the pandemic has truly highlighted the shortcomings of the industry as it is today. The driver turnover in the industry is 90 to 100%. That means if you're a trucking company and you hire a driver today, a year from now, you're most likely already looking for another driver. And so why is that? Why are drivers leaving the industry in droves? One, the number one reason is they don't have any freedom or flexibility in the way trucking is set up for them today. They're forced dispatch, meaning they have to spend multiple days, weeks at time on the road. While they're on the road, they have an unhealthy lifestyle, right? They're not eating well, they're not exercising. At the same time, their family life completely suffers, right? They're missing special moments, kid events, soccer games, all those things. And so when you combine all those together, truck driver is just not an attractive field. Most of the truck drivers do love what they do in terms of driving, but they don't like the lifestyle that trucking is imposing on them. And then as far as the impact, what does this driver shortage, what's the impact on the carriers, the trucking companies, and the economy as a whole, our supply chain? So one of the biggest is when trucks sit because they don't have a driver, you get asset underutilization. And so on average, a carrier's trucks, trucking companies, truck sits without a driver 40% of the time. That costs every trucking company out there roughly about $120,000 in lost revenue per year. And when they do get a driver, you see why they burn that driver out, right? Because then they have to keep running that truck to try to generate and make up for that asset underutilization, which leads to poor driver retention because then the drivers get burned out, right? And this cycle just is a downward spiral that just goes out of control, right? So then their drivers leave. Now the trucks are sitting again, and the cycle continues. They hire another driver. They have to try to make up for that last time and whatnot. And supply chain issues, right? So we've all seen when our supply chain gets stretched just a little bit, right? Because we're on that teeter-totter edge with our driver shortage problem, that goods don't arrive on time, right? And so what's the solution for this? We believe we developed the right solution to solve the driver shortage problem. And that solution is the Relay Driver Share Network, all right? It's all about making sure the right driver gets added to the right run at the right time so trucks don't have any downtime. And so we can say bye-bye to the driver shortage. And what is the Relay Driver Share Network? It's really the sum of three parts, okay? So it's the truck drivers who don't own their own truck. These are guys who are looking for a better way to work, but they don't want the hassle and burden and financial responsibility of owning their own trucks. And then we have the customers or the carriers who are always constantly needing drivers to fill their trucks and keeping their runs rolling. And then the third most important part that makes it all work is the connector, which is the relay technology that we built that enables a carrier to basically get a driver into their truck at the top of a button instantly. All right. So how does it work? Carriers use the mobile app, our web portal, Android, iOS, we've built it all out to make it really simple for carriers to use. So first, they simply click up their app or their web portal, and they create a run to book a driver. Then they dispatch a driver from the Relay network to do that run. And then once that run is complete, they can either simply add that driver to their fleet on a more permanent basis. They can leverage multiple drivers. They could do it over and over again to keep their trucks rolling 24/7. And then for drivers, it's really like being an owner or operator, but without the hassle and cost of owning your own truck, right? So they get the freedom to be their own boss, make their own schedule, even set their own pay rates. And the first step they do is when they log into their app, they can look at available runs, scroll, and then pick a run. Then they simply show up to the carrier's truck, drives, completes that run, and then they get paid instantly next day or 2 days, however they choose. In addition, through Relay, they get portable benefits, right? We truly want the Relay Driver Share Network to be the better way to work for drivers. And so they're able to get benefits, tax help, all kinds of things right through their app to really round out not only just their pay, but their lifestyle as well. And so, you could kind of think of Relay as like the Uber for truck drivers, right? And that's at its, kind of its ground level. But it goes much beyond that and does much more than just that. And so for drivers, it's all about them gaining their ultimate freedom and flexibility, their higher earning potential, because they have the ability to choose the runs they want, select the rates they want to run for and work for. And if they don't want to do a run, they don't have to, right? So it's all up to them as far as their healthy lifestyle, right? If they have a kids event on Friday, they don't have to pick up a run to do that, and nobody's going to tell them anything, right? So it's up to truly them to enjoy driving, enjoy the flexibility, make more money, but then at the same time, not have to sacrifice their lifestyle. And for carriers, it's all about getting more asset utilization. So instead of struggling to try to find drivers, now they have a driver literally at the tap of a button whenever they need one, when they join the Relay Driver Share Network. In addition to that, we've made things so simple and sleek through automating DOT compliance for carriers for how we onboard drivers. And so that saves carriers literally hours and hours of work by using our technology to do that. And then the most important part for carriers, right? They're for profit, right? We're not talking about nonprofit guys. And so using Relay, they're able to generate 50% more revenue per truck than they would doing it the old way of trying to hire one driver per truck. And so what does that mean by like the old way? And so the old way is what we call the Relay way versus the old way. The old way is how trucking traditionally works today, right? Carrier has a truck, no driver. He goes, he puts an ad out. He maybe shops on Indeed, gets hundreds of applications and spends weeks trying to interview guys and drug test guys just to hire one driver for one truck. And then when that driver does start to work, the truck is limited by how often that driver can work. He's a human being. He needs time off, right? And so on average, a driver can only work about 20 days out of a month, every 4 weeks, right? Because he needs time off, he has to rest, there's DOT limitations for how many hours he can drive in a week. All those things mean your truck sits, right? The Relay way eliminates all that. So one, you don't have to spend time with Indeed and job boards. You simply log onto your app and you have a network of 2,000 plus drivers available at your fingertips to hop in your truck. As soon as one driver does a run for you, another driver hops in. Once that driver is done and he goes home, your second driver comes, hops in, and your truck literally has zero downtime. And it keeps rolling and rolling for the entire month. And so when you add that up, carriers are able to generate tremendous amounts of money. in additional revenue by leveraging Relay and doing it the Relay way. And so what makes that happen and how that's all optimized, there's a lot that goes on in the background. And so Relay and our technology is looking and trying to optimize the driver schedules, their availability, the carriers' runs, where the runs are going, where the drivers are at, and many more data points to really optimize the driver network. And so we've developed this technology from the ground up in-house with nearly 1 million lines of code and counting, because we're continuing to innovate. It's the only technology that could really do on-demand, real-time matching with getting a driver in the seat of a carrier's truck literally instantly. In addition to that, it makes sure that that carrier's asset stays rolling 24/7 by looking ahead and making sure drivers are going to be available for that truck. And then it optimizes the driver utilization. So it's looking at the driver schedule and understanding what runs that driver wants to do, which runs has he historically done, which ones make sense, and what rates does he want to do them at, to make sure that that driver is accepting runs as needed for the network. And so how we monetize this is it's really simple, right? So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So one, we have a monthly subscription plan, right? That carriers pay to join the network. So we get that built-in recurring revenue to really help stabilize our foundation and enable us to grow. And then for every run that gets completed on the network, we also charge a transaction fee, right? And so when you combine these two, it really is a powerful business model that's capital efficient. Since our last round of Republic a year ago, we're already just about back to our break-even operating point. So that means our cash burn is just about zero now, and we're about to cross over into that profitability in another month or two. And so that's a testament to, you know, how many startups at our stage can really claim that. And so where are we at? What's our traction? What's our projections looking like? And so ever since we started, we've been growing fast. And so we launched in 2019, and every year we've been able to triple our revenue and grow. And we're on track to do it again this year. And so we're on ARR to do about $10 million this year in revenue. We have $6 million in sales to date, over 10,000 downloads with a 4.5-star rating across the board, you know, Google reviews and all that cool stuff. And so it really shows that we found the right solution at the right time for the right market. And so, you know, our goal is to grow this into $1 billion company. We strongly believe we're going to hit $100 million by 2024. And as we continue to triple our revenue every year. And so, you know, why do we think we can be $1 billion company? One, because as we all probably know, the market is huge, right? It's currently an $800 billion market. And you guys may have heard the expression, if you bought it, a trucker most likely brought it, right? So trucking is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's actually going to continue to grow into a $1.4 trillion industry by 2031, right? So we have lots of runway in such a huge industry that by us solving the biggest challenge in the industry, the driver shortage, having that right solution, we're very confident Relay is going to go to $1 billion company. And so, you know, there's almost 3.5 million truck drivers, 1.1 million trucking companies. And our main target are the small to mid-sized trucking companies, which, by the way, are 97% of the industry. And so we're just scratching the surface right now. There is so much runway with Relay. It's incredible. And so when we're talking about, you know, it's awesome. We have 2,000 drivers on the network today, but that's peanuts to where we're going. And so excited about that. And what excites me the most is really our vision for the future and what we're building today to solve and evolve into tomorrow. And so what does that mean, right? So today, we've built a solution that solves the driver shortage, right? Any carrier that joins the network won't have driver problems anymore, right? Any driver who joins the network will have the freedom, flexibility, and the pay that they deserve and the lifestyle to enjoy with their family. But where are we going in the future, right? And so when we say the driver for the future of trucking is Relay, what we're saying is this: autonomous trucks are on the horizon and they're going to be a part of our future. But how are they going to fit in with this world of humans and risk and insurance and things like that? Well, we look towards like planes and trains that have already pioneered this, right? And so when you think about a plane or a train, right, they're automated in low risk situations, and then in more high risk situations, a human is there to either supervise or take over, just to mitigate that risk, right? And so what Relay is going to do, and it's already doing, by the way, Relay syncs with autonomous trucks for seamless handoffs. And so our technology leverages where the truck's locations are, where the drivers are, and ends up marrying those two at the right time, at the right place, so the truck doesn't stop. When it gets to a high risk area, a driver hops in, takes over, and then does a load, right? So for example, autonomous driving will most likely occur in your open highways, right? And then as they approach the metropolitan areas where there's much more dense traffic and higher risk around schools and hospitals and things like that, a Relay driver will take over. Do the reload, unload the truck, reload it, take it back out to the outer limits of the metropolitan area, and then send it on its autonomous way again. And so we think this is going to be the future fairly quickly too, because we're already testing this in multiple cities in the US. And so we're leveraging our tech and our driver network to sync with these autonomous trucks and test how that's going to work. And so our immediate goal is to really focus on expanding to create this nationwide network of drivers and the driver share and carriers that solves the driver shortage of today, but then at the same time becomes the driver for the future of trucking. And so we have an awesome leadership team headed by yours truly. I'm the CEO, CTO, and founder. We're a diverse team out here in Southern California that we know trucking, we know technology, and we know how to make things grow. And by proof of last year, we know how to generate returns for the investors as well. And so back one. All right. And so in summary, right, Relay is the right solution at the right time, right? It solves the truck driver shortage. We're making the industry more efficient. It's led by a seasoned founder and myself and team. Our traction is undeniable in terms of we're tripling our revenue every year since we started. We're on track to triple again this year. The reviews from our drivers and carriers is 4.5 stars across the board. And so we're hitting all the metrics that we need to hit to really accelerate our growth into a national company. And that's our goal this year, is to really take Relay national. And so in a year from now, literally everybody in the logistics industry and trucking starts to know the name Relay for your drivers. So thank you guys. I appreciate it, and all open for questions.
Nice. Congratulations. If you bought it, a truck brought it. I like that slogan. I like that. Congratulations, Daryl. You have done such a good, I mean, this year you've been busy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember even the autonomous truck conversation. I remember that came up in questions last year when you talked about it, but to hear the update on that is really, really interesting.
Yep. Yep, I couldn't talk about it as much last year because we were in the early stages, and I didn't want to kind of let the cat out of the bag as far as what we're building technology from a competitive standpoint. But yeah, so that's it's awesome.
That is awesome. All right, I see the questions already coming through. We've got some comments in the chat. Great presentation. This is definitely a no-brainer, I think is what Stephen was trying to say. Love this company. Latrice says a few of my cousins are on the
Oh,
app
that's cool.
since they are truck drivers. Nice.
Cool.
And then Ebert said, great presentation. Love what I heard. Very good.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank you guys. That's awesome. I love to hear just, this relay is growing, right? It's getting its penetration into the market where people are like, oh, my cousins or because everybody has a truck driver in their family, right? Either they're a truck driver, or they know somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother-in-law's a truck driver. So that's exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Love it. So Dean said, who is your competition? He says, I'm familiar with Fleeting, a Black-owned trucking solution-oriented company.
Yeah, so currently our main competition are really job boards like Indeed, right? Staffing agencies. Um, and when you think about like a job board like Indeed, right? It takes literally 4 to 8 weeks for you to find somebody, right? If anybody's ever hired somebody through Indeed, right? You get a ton of applications, sure, but people don't respond, chase them down. Are they really qualified? And then when you do finally hire them, they're kind of a question mark, right? And so you have a lot of just question marks and downtime with your truck, right? That 4 to 8 weeks, you're losing money versus you could have joined Relay today and had your truck rolling tomorrow, right? And so we don't think they're going to evolve into that space. And then staffing agencies, Fleeting kind of fits more in the digital staffing agency, but they've kind of evolved into an all-in-one solution for trucking carrier businesses where if you're a trucking company, they'll get the loads for you and kind of staff your trucks with drivers, but more from like a staffing standpoint. And again, kind of the same problems happen, right? With staffing is one, when your truck sits, you finally get a driver, you got to try to keep that one guy running, right? And driver turnover is 90 to 100%. And so almost guaranteed you're going to be doing it again in a few months, trying to find another driver for that truck. And in the meantime, your truck is sitting as you're trying to find another driver, right? Because drivers typically don't give you, a 4 to 8 week heads up that they're leaving, right?
Right.
You're lucky if they give you a week, right? And so, so Fleeting, Haul is another one. That's they're more of a digital staffing, right? And so when I talk about the Relay way, right, and how a carrier can truly optimize their asset by keeping it running with zero downtime by using 2 to 3 drivers per truck, Relay is the only one doing that. And so we built the tech to do that. It's not, like I say, we're up to like 1 million lines of code. It wasn't something that somebody could build overnight. So I think we're way ahead of the competition. When you look at like the digital staffing companies like Fleeting, look at how many downloads they have compared to where we are at. Look at like Haul, how many downloads they have, and that gives you an indication of who's way out in front, and that's us by far.
Very good. Michael says, what will the funds be used for?
So 3 things. So one, it's all about national expansion now, right? And so we're going to use roughly about 350, 400,000 in just marketing and expanding into new markets. We want to hit 10 more markets over the next year, enroll Relay into those markets. And then to do that, we'll probably have about another 300,000 in adding additional team members to help support that growth and things like that. And then roughly another 250 or so to continue to develop our technology. We're an innovative company. We're not going to stop innovating. We believe that's what's going to keep us ahead of any potential competition. While we're already testing with autonomous trucks, right? I don't know if anybody else is doing that. And so those are the 3 areas we're going to use the funds for.
Very good. I'm going to I'm going to ask this question that's in the chat, but please make sure we put questions in the Q&A so they don't get lost. I saw it scroll and I thought it was a good question, so I'm going to stop and read it. I think your name is Alita. I hope I pronounced that right. Please forgive me if I didn't. How are you insured in case of accident liability?
Yeah, no, great question. You know, trucking is high liability industry. So there's two kind of coverages. One, every carrier has to have coverage on their business and their trucks to even operate per DOT. And so Relay provides the first time they use a driver to make it more seamless for them. Relay provides an optional coverage where for that first run, they're covered through a Relay policy. And then after that, they just simply add the driver to their policy. And we virtually almost automate that process where they can just click, download the file and send it off to their insurance guy and have that driver added to their policy almost instantly.
Wow, very good. Kenny says, how does this work with the driver when it's his or her own truck?
Yeah, so if it's like an owner operator, right? That's kind of like the question, right? So you're talking about a person who has one truck, owns their truck, right? So they can leverage Relay in two different ways. They can get a driver to, when they come home from their trip, right? And they want to rest, right? They can have a driver hop in their truck and work for the weekend, right? Generate more revenue in that truck while they're at home with their family, enjoying time. And then when they're ready to go back out, they hop in and do the next run themselves, right? And so it takes their one truck operation basically into a revenue generating of two trucks, but only needing one. And so it really takes them to the next level.
It really does. They get passive income, right? They're sitting at home enjoying their family, but they're still making money.
But they're still making money. They don't have to, they truly become a business person, right? So instead of just working their own truck, now they're starting to put their truck to work for themselves.
I love that because I know I remember growing up, I had a friend whose dad was a trucker and he was never home because he was always, back and forth across country. And imagine now, and I think we talked about this a little bit when you were on the last time. People could stay home longer, right? Spend more time with the family because you are still making money.
Right.
This is awesome. Very, very good.
Yep. That's the whole idea, right? And so I grew up the son, for those who don't know, I grew up the son of a truck driver, right? So I have trucking in my background, right? I'm an engineer by degree, and I spent most of my corporate days in engineering. But growing up, my dad wasn't home, and he missed the birthdays and holidays a lot. And especially in our community, right? There's so many folks of our color who are truck drivers, and men in particular who are away from their sons and daughters, right? If we could get those men back home, right? I think that's just another huge step in improving our community.
Yeah. Wade says, for this to be attractive to an operator or non-owner truck driver, I anticipate that Relay has integrated a return trip for a handoff driver. Is this the case?
So most of the trips are round trips, right? So I don't know if I quite get your question, but if I'm a driver on the Relay network, I don't have to worry about how I'm getting back home, right? Most of the trips I take bring me back home in the time. So from the driver's perspective, on the app, they'll see how much the run is going to pay, how long the run is going to take, where it's going, and so they know when they're going to be back home.
Okay. Anonymous says, as you grow, what are some unexpected expenses that you have run into? Charges for the app, advertising, etc.
One was Google Cloud, and we understand why Google makes so much money now. Why Google's a huge company, right? And so late last year, we were kind of blindsided as we were growing, that our Google costs were just starting to go through the roof. And so we had to re-engineer and recode some things to get more efficient in how we leverage Google. through the app, because drivers can leverage directions, carriers can leverage addresses. There's a lot of things that carriers and drivers can do from a Google side through our app, and so that was one. What other ones? The cost of just hiring team members on on our on our on our team at the office, right? Like that is, going up higher and higher, and rightly so. People have to be able to afford how to live nowadays with the way inflation is going. So that's been
Yeah.
a big one too.
Yeah. Daniel said, hi, Daniel. Daniel said, how do you handle the payroll?
So it's all, I don't know how to answer that question. So I
Do you
guess,
outsource it? Do you handle it in-house?
oh, okay. Yeah. So, I guess let me answer it this way. So in about 2 weeks, the payroll process will be completely automated. There won't really be like a payday anymore. And so, so we have it all built in where the driver simply, as soon as he completes a run, right from his app, he'll have the option to instantly withdraw his money next day, or 2 to 3 day standard. And so currently we kind of have like a once a week kind of payday kind of setup. But that's going away in about 2 weeks, where will be completely automated and give that driver more freedom to withdraw their money when they want and use it how they want.
Wow, that's a nice improvement.
Yep.
Bernard says, is your service based off of trucking companies or individual truckers? Example, I have family member that drives for Werner Trucking and other trucking fleets. How would it benefit them individually?
Yeah, so they would join a network as a relay driver, okay? And so it would benefit them because they would essentially become their own boss, be able to make their own schedule, be able to literally set your own pay rates, choose when you want to run and where you want to run. And so for them, it's like they get to be an owner operator, but without having to own their own truck, right? So they don't have to deal with the hassle of, hey, to get my freedom and flexibility, I have to go spend $120,000 on a truck and assume all the risk and maintenance and really become a slave to working for that truck, right? To keep that truck finances going. Instead, now they could do it without having to own a truck. That's the main benefit. And so when I was running our trucking company, so I own my own trucking company that I used to run. And so I interviewed literally, dozens and dozens of drivers throughout that time. And one of the questions I would always ask them was like, well, why are you looking for a new job? Why are you leaving the company you're at? And the number one answer I got was because I didn't have any freedom there, right? I was out on the road and I told them I needed to be home by Friday for my daughter's, soccer game. And they kept me out till Monday, right? And so they're like, enough of that. I'm looking for greener pastures somewhere else. The problem is they don't exist with other companies, because other companies all have the same issue. That truck has to stay running when you have one driver for one truck.
Wow. Trina says, have you developed a training module for app and for single truck driver moving into the 2 truck model with loaning out your truck?
Yeah, so we haven't developed a training module specifically, like, hey, driver, here's kind of a course or training you could take to kind of learn how to do that. We're still developing that and how we're going to kind of help automate that. Today, every carrier who joins the network gets access to a carrier success manager. And their job is to help them get the most out of Relay by navigating the right strategies for how to book drivers, and even help them with strategy around like, hey, you should kind of look at some of these loads, things like that, to really take advantage of the Relay network.
Very good. Ebert says, what is the average downtime for clients' truck maintenance and is it factored in?
So maintenance varies from company to company. right? We don't really track that data because it's really dependent on that company and when they want to pull their truck, down for maintenance. In some trucks, if you're been in the industry long enough, you kind of learn that some trucks manufacturers, like internationals for the past 10 years, break down far more often than some of your freight liners and other things. And so it's all about how that carrier manages it. So average, if I had to guess a number on it, just from my experience, I would say your trucks are probably down 2 to 3 days a month in maintenance wise if you average it out throughout the year.
That doesn't seem like a lot.
Um, it is when you add it up, right,
Mm.
throughout the year, right? And you consider that a truck can generate roughly about $30,000 in revenue a month,
Mm,
right? And
okay.
so, if you're down 3 days, 2 to 3 days a month, that's a month out of the year. So that's,
Month out of the year, right?
yeah, that you lost revenue for that asset.
Interesting. Anonymous says, I think that you mentioned that the app would provide tax services to truck drivers. Is that true? And are you partnering with another company for these services? And if you are partnering with another company, what's the nature of the partnership, cost, fees, etc.?
Yeah, so we're not doing it ourselves. We're um, working with Stride, and Stride helps provide um, tax learning and tax, kind of what do you call them, tax courses and things like that, right? To kind of help people, how do you navigate that world, as well as it helps them secure benefits and things like that.
Very good. And do you just pay, do you pass on those fees to the customer, or is the relationship between you and you pay Stride?
So it depends on what is being accessed as far as benefits or perks. It just depends. Some of the stuff is just we're not involved in, and then some of the things we're managing, and so we're either passing it on or depending on what it takes from us, we're marking it up. It just depends on what the perk or the benefit particularly is.
Very good. Tammy said, any future plans to pay drivers with cryptocurrency?
Not yet. One day. Not working on that yet though. But it's coming, right? And so, we'll get there. Right now, we're working on kind of the automatic payment for the drivers so they can just get access to their money literally instantly when they need it. I think that'll probably be, phase 2 or 3.0 for that.
Good. Arthur says, will you be in Missouri?
Eventually. We're going to be national. And so when we're going to get to, like the St. Louis area or things like that, we're primarily going to be focused around the major hubs of trucking and things like that as we expand at first, because that's all the low hanging fruit for us, right? And then once we hit all those markets across the country, we'll start moving into smaller and smaller markets.
Alita said that in regards to the tax resources, she says this is very good. She says she used to work in a tax office, and many truck drivers struggled with the business tax part of their business.
That's why we felt like it was a need, because again, when I was running our trucking company, I used to help our drivers with the taxes directly, right? Because they would struggle and they would get hit with that. And so I said, we need something that's going to help the community as a whole, right? Because truly, when I talk about having Relay be the better way to work, right? Like, we're not just saying, hey, it's just about freedom and flexibility. That's the main thing for sure. But we're also talking about, how you manage your finances, how do you get the benefits you need, how do you really make sure that you're rounded in what you're doing and protected.
Yeah. That's that total care philosophy. I mean, you're really tending to all of their needs.
Yep.
I love that. Anonymous said, can you speak more about the benefits to employers? How much money are companies saving by using this app?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily about saving money, it's about generating more revenue from a customer standpoint, right? From a carrier standpoint, right? So carriers today, their trucks without a driver are sitting up against the fence somewhere, right? And that truck is costing them money because it still has payments, it still has insurance, still has plate registration. So every day that truck is sitting is just less miles it's going to generate that year, right? And so what Relay enables a carrier customer to do is to generate more revenue. And even if, at the end of the day, you pay a little bit more for that one individual driver, the fact is you get 2 to 3 drivers to really keep your truck rolling 24/7. So you more than make up any additional cost in terms of more revenue for that month that you're generating.
Daniel said, is there a time limit on how long truck drivers can drive?
Yeah, so they're limited by not us, but they're limited by the DOT or the FMCSA for us how many hours. So they could drive 11 hours in a day. So drivers technically have like 3 clocks they have to manage. It gets a little confusing. And so their first clock is how many hours from when they start to how long they can technically be on the clock, whether they're just sitting waiting to get loaded, they're fueling up at a truck stop, whatever. That's 14 hours. Within that 14 hours, they can only drive 11 hours total. And then when you look over a 7-day week, or 8-day week, they can only drive 70 hours total in those 8 days. And so most carriers, right, they want to maximize that because, right, they want that truck rolling. So most of the drivers out there working in that one truck, one driver per truck model, that carrier is pushing them to do 11, 12 hours every day in the truck, right? 7 days a week. Hey, when you get back home, you get your day and a half off because then they have to reset for 34 hours. So they get their day and a half off, and the carrier is like, where are you at? You back in the truck? Let's go. All right. The driver's like, I just got home. So that's how it works.
Yeah. Kenny says, is Relay on the East Coast yet? So not yet, right?
Not yet, but we will be this year for sure.
Good. Kenny also said, can owner operators sign up for the Relay app now and start driving for them?
Yeah. So as an owner operator, you kind of have, what I didn't mention earlier is as an owner operator, you can also drive on a Relay network. You don't have to just get a driver for your truck, right? If there's, a down period where there's not a lot of loads for you that makes sense, right? As an owner operator, because most one truck owner operators are they're getting their loads from what we call the spot market, right? Which is more like it's like the excess freight, right? That when there's excess freight being shipped by shippers, it goes on the spot market. And that's where the owner operators, those one truck guys, pick up their freight from load boards and things like that. Well, that market is very volatile, right? Because you can imagine when there's excess freight, times are good. When there's not a lot of excess freight, it's hard on those guys. And so in those cases, they can park that truck and hop in, as a Relay driver with a carrier that maybe has contracted freight and just run a couple loads until, hey, they get a good load that pops up for their truck. So we have a couple of owner operators who do that as well, right? So they get a driver on their truck. They also drive on the Relay network. They kind of do it both ways.
Teresa says, does Relay offer local trips also or only long distance?
All the above. So local, regional, long haul. Relay has carriers and drivers doing all the above.
Anonymous says, who owns the truck and or maintains them? Not sure if this has been asked already.
Yep. So the carrier. So the trucking company owns the truck, provides the fuel, the loads, the maintenance, everything for the truck. The driver provides his time and his professionalism and skills.
Very good. All right, Perez has a long one, so can we leave this one up a little bit, admin? Perez says, first off, again, great pitch. It's really exciting to see your growth from the first presentation. It seems like the biggest question is driver retention. How will the introduction of AI in the driving model help the driver if their salary could potentially be based off of the amount of time they actually are working?
How, try to think about that question, how she's asking it. So I think what she's asking is, how will autonomous trucks affect the pay for drivers? Is that correct?
Perez, is that a good summary of your question? I'll let you answer, and then I'll move to your second part. Is it similar to the adjustment the airline industry made with the pilots when they introduced autopilot tech?
Okay. So yeah, so from a
He
relay
said
perspective,
yes. Yeah, he said yes.
okay. So from the relay perspective, right, the way we see the future in this hybrid world of autonomous trucks matching and passing off with relay drivers, we think what it will change is the drivers who like to do long haul stuff, that will probably go away, right? Or get reduced, right? And so those drivers who like to do the long haul will mainly have to do the local stuff, right? But for every autonomous truck, we think there's still a driver that's needed, right? It's just their nature of their work will be different to a certain degree. They won't have to spend 2-3 weeks away from home at a time. And so they'll handle those more local routes, right? So when that autonomous truck comes into the metropolitan area, that driver will run it around town doing the loads and deliveries and pickups and reloads and then send it back out. And so from a monetary standpoint, I don't see it changing significantly. I see the nature of the work changing. But the driver pay, as far as what a driver can make in a day, I don't see that changing too much.
Interesting. And then Perez says, why not have 2 drivers per load, like the airlines, a very similar case study model?
Yeah, so one, the airlines have multiple pilots for safety reasons, right? They usually have 3, right? On certain flights, right? Your smaller planes, they'll have 2, but they usually have the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer. And that's, you have the pilot there, but you have the co-pilot just in case something happens to the pilot. Then you have the flight engineer who helps with the navigations and the plane systems. So it's a little bit different in that sense. But in terms of team driving, so that exists today in trucking, where you put 2 drivers in a truck. And the idea is for that truck to get across, say, from the West Coast to the East Coast faster because it doesn't have to stop, right? One driver's sleeping while one driver is driving. And then when that driver is done with his shift, the other driver wakes up, takes over, and the other guy goes back into sleeper and goes to sleep, right? Most drivers don't want to do that because who wants to, again, think about lifestyle, right? You never get to sleep in something that's stable. The truck is always rolling down the road and you're literally spending 24 hours now in the truck. You're sleeping in the truck, you get up, you're driving the truck, you're back to sleep in the truck as it's rolling the whole time, right? And then the guy that's driving while you're asleep, his life is in your hands, right? Like you have to really trust that guy who's driving because if something happens, right, it's your life as well as his, right? Potentially. If he falls asleep while driving, right? So a lot of guys shy away from team driving, which is why I think the hybrid approach to where you could achieve the same thing, right? So instead of having 2 drivers in a truck, you have autonomous take care of certain parts and then humans take care of the other parts. And then the truck still doesn't have to stop running, except you only need 1 driver at a time.
I am such a girl in this moment because in my head, all I could think of with that question was taking the sheets off, putting new sheets on, taking the sheets off. I don't want to lay on the same sheets this dude was laying on. So
well, there's usually 2 bunks in those.
Are there 2 bunks? Okay.
Yeah, there's usually 2 bunks. So you do get your own bed at least.
Because I was like, we're not sharing beds. What's going on with these sheets?
Yeah.
Stephen, you asked a great question, but can you please put it in the Q&A for us? Anonymous says, can an employer request particular drivers on the app? So I'll leave the question up so I can get to the next part, but that's a good first part.
Yeah, definitely. So so they have multiple options, right? So we've really built the technology to make it simple, but yet flexible for every different type of carrier in the way they run their business, right? So some carriers, uh, they want the same driver over and over based because of the run they have is complicated or whatnot, and it just doesn't make sense to train the same, just keep training different people, right, to manage a complicated run. And so they leverage the same drivers over and over, and then they can pick from their network of drivers who they want to do the run as long as that driver is available. 'Cause remember, it has to be the driver's available and the carrier needs that run. And then other carriers have really simple runs, and they're like, hey, essentially for them, the driver is commoditized to a certain degree, right? Where they just need somebody who's professional, skilled, and has a good rating. And they hop in their truck and do a simple run for them. And then the next day, another driver maybe picks it up and does it for them. So it really depends on the company and what their needs are. But the Relay app kind of makes it happen for all of those.
Okay. Anonymous then goes on to say, with the app, I think that one might lose community among drivers and between drivers and employers. Currently, employers probably already know which drivers are reliable, which drivers aren't. Can the app overcome this possible disconnect?
We think so. So last year, one of the things we launched, thanks to your guys' investment, who were part of last year, was we launched Relay Social, which is really cool. So it's part of the app where drivers, think like Facebook, but with just drivers on the Relay app, right? Where they share, they talk with each other, they share tips. It's kind of like the hangout, at the truck stop for truck drivers, but all within the Relay community. And that has been amazing. Like we're all just, everybody on our team was like, when I kind of had that vision for it, they're kind of like, I don't know, Darrell. And now they see like how often that's getting used and all the content that's being posted. They're like, wow, no, that's awesome. And so our goal is to try to figure out how to keep that community, but build it even tighter and stronger within the Relay network. So once you join Relay, you're part of that community, and that community is there to help you. And so with that Relay Social feature, if you're a Relay driver and you're out, doing a delivery at, say the Costco warehouse, and you're just sitting there bored, there's a nearby feature where you can bring up and locate drivers who are right close to you. There may be a Relay driver in the truck next to you, right, doing another delivery for another carrier, and you can message them and be like, hey, what do you think about this on Relay? Or how do I do this better? Or hey, you're here, I'm here. What do you think about this place? It's horrible. It sucks. Whatever it is they want to chit chat about or meet with each other.
Nice. So Stephen didn't put his question in the Q&A for me. I'm going to go ahead and read it because I like the question. So Stephen says, customer service is one of the supreme pieces of success. On a level of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, rank customer service to secure investors' peace.
Customer service from a Relay perspective or our customer?
I believe from Relay's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 10 is where we want to be, right? So our goal is why we have our carrier success managers. We have a driver success manager. And then my goal is to really be upfront with and available for as many drivers and carriers as I can. Drivers, especially through the app, they can message me directly as part of the Relay Social, right? So when they have issues that something is not getting done, they can just go right to the CEO, right? You don't have to go anywhere else, right? And then I'm active in our Relay Social. There's tons of questions they ask, right? That I probably answer at least 50, 60% of them, just because I want to stay involved with our community as well. And so today, I think we're probably like an 8. And that's only because I'm probably more critical on ourselves than most people would say. But our goal is to be a 10 plus, right? And so I don't think there's ever been a driver or carrier that, if they really want to get a hold of me, the CEO, that they can, right? And so, yeah. So I'm gonna go with an 8, solid 8 today. With our goal is, we're always working on ways to get to that 10. I just don't know if we'll ever get to that holy grail, but that's our goal.
I
We
love
definitely put the resources.
I love the transparency with that answer. I love that you didn't just say, oh, we're a 10, we're awesome, we're amazing, we do everything right, right? I love that you broke it down the way that you did. That speaks volumes about the type of CEO that you are and the type of business owner you are as well. Chandra says the social feature sounds cool. She says like a modern day CB radio.
Exactly. That's exactly, yep, that was exactly kind of our thought process behind it.
Nice. Great questions tonight, guys. Does anyone else have additional questions before we give our closing statements? I love the growth over the, I mean, come on, tripling revenue is that's a big deal, right? That's a big, and then on target to do it again. That tells me the business model is solid. Like
and
that.
then to get back to, our goal, if you remember last year, was we wanted to get to in a year from then, get to a point where we're back to a break even, right? To get the growth, get back to a break even, and then decide if we want to do another crowd round or keep growing at the pace we're at, right? And
Right.
so I think the getting back to break even, I mean, that's a challenge in itself, right? Especially a startup. And so that just goes to the testament of just how much we're innovating and automating processes and things like that to as we grow, we're not actually adding cost to grow. We're actually trying to minimize and reduce cost as we grow.
That's great. We got some more questions. All right. Do you have testimonials from the carriers and drivers?
Oh yeah. One, check out Google reviews. Two, go to our Relay on Demand YouTube channel. You'll see testimonials from carriers and drivers there. Also on the WeFunder page, there's a video, scroll down, that probably has 4 or 5 drivers and carriers testimonials as well.
Very good. Anonymous says, do you have employees dedicated to tech support for drivers and employers? If so, how many? And do you plan to grow this area?
Yeah, so we have really 2 folks who are dedicated to tech support. But our philosophy is we're all tech support. We're all customer service, right, to go back. So everybody gets trained on how to do chats, how to answer phones, how to be there for drivers and carriers. Because trucking is 24/7, 365 days a year, right? And just because it's midnight doesn't mean that a carrier or driver doesn't need help somewhere. And so our goal is to always have folks available to provide that support, no matter what time of day it is.
Good, very good. And so Anonymous, this question was answered no matter what time of day it is. So yes, tech support is 24/7.
24/7, 365 when they're on the run.
Perez says, is there an option in Relay where you can start out as a driver and work your way up to owner?
No, not today. Not today. We got some thoughts around some things that we'll be working on in the future that I think is going to give drivers a way to transition from driving, but to kind of managing, we talk about passive income a lot, right? And how to generate that. But that'll probably be something we could talk about next year. Still early on development on that stuff.
Okay. So what I think I'm hearing though is that let me ask a different question. What's the biggest barrier between a driver becoming an owner? Is it the financing for the truck? Is it credit?
Yeah,
What's the barrier?
So from my perspective, there's 3 things that I think drivers need to have before they own the truck. One, they need to have money management down to a T, because trucking is a huge cash flow business. And if you don't know how to manage your cash and your flow, you're going to get yourself in trouble fast, even if you are making,
especially if you're paying me right away now.
Yeah,
I thought about that. I thought I love it, but that could be risky. Like by the time they get home, the check could be gone.
Yep. And so that's number one for me. So any driver has to know that to own a truck. Number
Mhm.
two, they have to know about maintenance on the trucks.
Okay.
If you're an owner operator, the maintenance shops, mechanics will eat you alive if you have to pay everything to fix a light bulb to, like you have to know how to do certain things on your own truck as a one truck operation. And then I lost my train of thought. What was it? The third one. And so we have money management, you have to know maintenance, and then you have to be a go-getter, right?
Mhm.
Like trucking and running your own, it's not passive. It's hard work when you have to make sure those bills get paid. And guess what? Maybe your truck has been down for 2 weeks because of maintenance, right? Or you just got hit. It's very easy for a truck to get hit with a $5, $6, $8,000 repair bill out of the blue, right? That's commonplace. And so in that time period, you know, you got to get up and hey, now you got to go run hard, right? Because your bills, the bank didn't stop when the truck note, the insurance didn't stop just because your truck was in the shop, right? Registration didn't stop, they didn't care, right? So you got to get back and make that money back by running hard. So
Do trucking schools typically teach in their curriculum all of those things you just talked about, or do they just teach you how to drive it?
no, they
Mm.
just teach you how to get past the test and get on the road. And it's hard because not everybody can get money management, unfortunately. Like you could teach it, but not everybody can do it.
You're gonna comprehend it, right? Right.
Right.
Or be
Um,
strict enough, right, to abide by it. Yeah, even though, because even many people know how to be financially savvy, just the dedication to it and the being able to stick with it is sometimes difficult for some.
right. Can you execute it? Right.
Right,
Because
right.
especially when you're owner operator, right? You'll do a run. For example, you'll get paid $10,000 to do a run, and you make that in a week, right? You're like, wow, I got $10,000 this week, right? Maybe in fuel, it only costs you maybe 2,000, 2,500. So you're thinking, hey, I just made $7,500 this week, right? And maybe you stack up a few good weeks like that, right? And now at the end of the month, you're like, my bank account is swole. And then you know what? Let me go buy this. Let me go do this. Let me take this week off now, right?
Mhm.
And then the next time you go back out, your truck gets hit with an $8,000 bill because the turbo went out. Oh, wait a minute. Now that money you spent, actually, it wasn't your money, right? It was belonged to the truck still. And so that's the challenge there is having that discipline, right? You may know the knowledge, but then to be able to execute that kind of discipline.
So is there a standard amount of money they should, like a percentage that they should always be setting aside to have a certain amount for something like truck repairs? What's the average repair cost? Like, should they always have $25,000 kind of sitting that belongs to the truck? I love how you said that. That wasn't your money, it was the truck's money.
Yeah.
Do they always have truck money sitting to the side, or should they?
Yep, I tell them every time, hey, the truck is your number one employee, and eventually they want to get paid. And
Mm.
so, they don't need to get paid every week, but when they do want to get paid, they want to get paid big. And so I recommend to everybody, I have like a little Excel sheet that I share with guys who are really serious about getting into trucking. And it kind of breaks down all the costs from just all the years of experience. And your maintenance costs, you want to put away roughly 20, 25% of whatever that load paid. Stick that away. It's not yours, right? When you start, you want to have, I tell everybody, if you can, start with about 20 grand in the bank or at least available on credit, right? Whether it's cash you have or credit cards you have, start with at least 20 grand when you start running your first truck. Then you'll be okay.
Good, very good. Thank you. So Doc joined late. Doc says, how can accredited investors invest in the business? Doc, the same way non-accredited investors can invest in it. So we've been putting the WeFunder link in the chat throughout the evening. If you click on that link, all the information you need to invest will be right there for you.
Yep, and on WeFunder, if you're an accredited investor, the good thing is you're not limited to was it $2,200, I think it is,
Yeah,
for
it
non-accredited
definitely
investors.
varies. It definitely varies based on net worth, but that's the general rule.
Yep.
Wade says, you mentioned about 10,000 app downloads. How many trucking customers have you garnered so far? And what is your projection number for the next 3 years?
Yeah, so trucking customers were over 1,000. We're about to hit 2,000 actual users on the network. As far as over the next 2 or 3 years? 3 years, was that a question?
I think you said 3, yeah.
3 years, so it's really simple. Take what we have today, roughly close to 2,000, and we're gonna triple that this year, and we're gonna triple that next year. And so that's where we're gonna end up. That's our goal, is to continue to triple our revenue and triple our growth for the next few years.
Very good. Anonymous says, someone recently put a negative review in the Google Play Store. Can customer service look into that?
Yeah, we monitor those literally probably on a daily basis. So somebody's probably already looking into it, if I had to guess. But people always look at that stuff. Yeah, we're always looking to see. And, unfortunately, sometimes we get reviews that bad reviews that we have earned because we dropped the ball somewhere. And sometimes we get bad reviews that we didn't earn because we're dealing with so many people. So,
yeah. And each one of those becomes a learning experience, right? For how to get to that
exactly.
10, right?
Exactly. Right.
Perez says, do you have a youth internship to train younger drivers who don't have families just yet, but they can build a career out of it?
That's a great idea.
Great idea.
That's how do we, especially as we can evolve Relay to really be this better way to work, right, for everybody, and really have this another career path that works for young people that aren't going to school maybe or doing other things. We've talked about it. We haven't figured out how to do that yet, but we definitely want to do something around how do we people want to get into trucking, whether they're high schoolers coming out of high school or they're early 20s. How do we make that happen? I think that'll come. I think we need to get a little bit bigger for how we're going to manage that and figure that out. But I love that idea. I mean, I think it's amazing. And if we could get there, that's going to be awesome.
Nice. And Perez already named your program. He's calling it Relay Co-Pilot Program.
Oh, there you go. I like it. The co-pilot, the Relay co-pilot.
Latrice says,
can you put in the notes, hey, I sent all rights of the name co-pilot to Relay.
Right. Sign away your rights, Perez. Latrice says, has your exit plan changed since your first round? What's your favorite part of owning? Well, she asked 3 questions, so let's just answer the first one. Has your exit plan changed since the first round?
No, I think our exit strategy is still kind of one, when we get to that, $1 billion company, right, or close to it, are we going to IPO? Are we going to look, like an acquisition standpoint? Those are the 2 kind of exit strategies, that we're looking at.
And then she said, what's your favorite part of owning this business?
The impact that we have on drivers in particular. And just me thinking about right now almost just gave me chills down my spine, because I was going to tell you a story. This is when we were first kind of starting out, and I was like really able to be hands-on, like in training the drivers. Like I was like literally the guy like showing them the app and making sure, going on a test drive road trip with them to make sure, they're good quality drivers. And I get done training this driver. We go around the block. We show her how to use the app. And, kind of, she passed the driving test. And then we're sitting in the truck and she's just scrolling through the app and she looks over at me and she's like, you know what this is for us drivers? I'm like, what? She's like, this is our freedom. And she was just like, thank you. And she gave me a hug right there. And I almost like teared up right there. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's like, and I continue to hear that like literally on a weekly basis. Drivers are like, man, this is like amazing. You don't understand. Like, I wish I would have came up with this. Or drivers are like, I came up with this. I just didn't know how to execute it. And that's the best part for me, man. Like, there's no other. And then the second best part has been, and which is why I'm doing the crowdfunding again, is during the last Republic, reading all the reasons why people, when they invested and they drop a note for saying why they invested and why they believe in what we're building, was just like morning coffee to me. Every day I used to get up and read those. And so I look forward to that, to this time again too.
Very nice. And then Latrice's final question says, do you plan to hire anyone after this round?
Yes. So we're going to be adding to our team from a technology standpoint and from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint. So we'll be adding to our team this round.
Okay. And I think Trina may have just solved your co-pilot program. She says you can set up private vocational schools across the country and be sure to have the financial management maintenance modules. Would love to head that division. She has 30 years of experience.
Oh, there we go. We got the executive for that one already.
That's it.
Love it.
Trina, you want to send me your email and I'll pass it on to Darrell?
I love it.
That is wonderful.
You know what's awesome too? You know, in the last Republic, the crowdfunding, we hired 2 people because of that round. People who invested and reached out and were like, man, I want to invest, but I want to see if I could do more. And we ended up hiring 2 people through that.
Nice. That's it. That's what this is about, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Very good. Any more questions? You want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen so we can be bigger on the screen? Any more questions?
Oh. Stop share.
Amazing questions as usual. Got one more. Oh, she said, I sure will. Awesome. Okay. Hold on. Let me capture it right now.
Guys, I gotta tell you, this is a joy to answer these questions and be here with you guys. So it's awesome.
Okay. I'll send it as soon as we're done, Trina. I just posted it in my email so I could have it. Wonderful, wonderful. Any additional questions? All right, another great evening. Thank you so much. I'll start and then I'll let you take it home, sir. I know you guys get tired of me saying my end of the evening spiel, right? But it's not going to change because we're here for a reason, right? And we're here to support the founders. So I'm always going to tell you all the things we need to do to continue to support the founders. So it's really simple for me. We need to share the campaign link, right? We've put it in the chat throughout the evening. Make sure you grab it from the lower part of the chat because in the beginning, I think we had the Republic link in error. So I apologize for that. If anybody grabbed that earlier link, go ahead and grab this one that's down here at the bottom and just save it. So share the link, share it with everyone you know, right? We've talked about all the truck drivers we know in our family and friend network, share it with them. What better to invest in than a company and an industry that you understand, right? So that makes sense, right? Because they'll be able to see the value in it that some of us may have to think a little harder about. And so share it with them. Share it with people who don't know anything about trucking, but they order stuff from Amazon all the time, right? And, because remember the slogan, right? If you bought it, a truck brought it. Yep. And so this is literally a business where everybody benefits from it. And we saw and experienced firsthand the challenges of the supply chain. And some of that was due to manufacturing slowing down, due to COVID. But a lot of it was even once they produced the product, there wasn't enough trucks on the road to get it to us and to get it to us in a timely manner, right? So we experienced empty shelves and all of that stuff. I mean, this is solving a big problem, right? It's solving a bigger problem in that we're also making sure that we're putting people to work and we're keeping them at work, right? So they can make a living. We think about things like homelessness rates and all of the stuff that just plagues us as a country. What we've heard tonight, we didn't know I know it wasn't about that, right? But my brain was like, this solves that problem. This solves that problem, right? Because it adds value in so many different ways. And so, if you want, please take the time, look through the campaign page, do your due diligence. I always say that. Now, I did see a question. I don't know where it went, but I saw someone say, was the Form C filed?
Yeah, so we haven't filed the Form C yet. We'll file it next week.
Okay.
Because we were waiting for exactly a year from our last campaign to file it. So, so right now, that's why we have just the early bird terms, because we're not opening up this to the public just yet, just our communities and the folks who were part of the last round, which you guys were. And so the early bird terms, I think, are running out. So definitely those are for us in the community. Yeah.
It was just 21,000 left when I looked at it. Like, wasn't like 21,700 when I looked at it a little while ago. So yeah, so we want to get that, because anytime you can get better terms on something you're already going to invest in, it's a no-brainer, right?
Right.
So you want to definitely get the better terms on that.
Yep. And then the idea is we just wanted to say thank you to like all the folks who believed in us when we didn't have as much traction, right, a year ago, and just to kind of say like, hey, we want you guys to continue, and here's a kind of a little incentive and a thank you for believing in us before. That's
wonderful. So share, right? And then share it 3 more times, right? Because 3 has been right. We're going to triple the revenue year over year. We're going to triple the users year over year. I've been following these 3s.
That's it.
So we need to share these 3 times. We need to share this link, right? At the very least. So thank you so much to everyone. Please, again, do your due diligence, but please do not procrastinate. One of the things that we need to be better at as an investor community is acting faster so that the founders can get the momentum that they need. A lot of these campaigns stall, and a couple of things like I noticed happen. I talked to a founder the other day, and he was feeling a little defeated. His campaign is kind of stalled, and he didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, he had only had a few. He didn't have enough time to where I felt like we could help him be successful, because his campaign was getting ready to end. And so it just broke my heart because I heard how defeated he was feeling. And it's a great business model that he has. And I just want us to make sure that, when we decide we're interested in something, let's go ahead and act when, obviously when we can. I know we got to make sure we're being financially healthy, right? And responsible. We want to use disposable income. But so this is not for someone who's waiting for that disposable income check, right? Because we want you to be healthy and responsible above anything else. But for those of us who kind of, we have it, but we're like, okay, I got to get to that. And then like 2 weeks go by, I'm like, oh, I still haven't gotten to that. And then it's a month later and it's like 5 days left in the campaign. I still haven't gotten to that. So for those of us who kind of tend to do that, I just want us to practice being a little better, because one of the things I noticed is we make a huge impact when we respond, right? When we act, the founders, are meeting their goals, they're meeting the thresholds that they're trying to get to, and they love the support they're getting from us here at the 10K Project. So I just want us to show them as much love as we possibly can, while we're staying healthy and financially savvy investors. I always want to put that in the forefront, because none of these founders want calls at midnight talking about, can I have my $500 back? They would rather you be, financially healthy than to do it on a whim, only to then pull it back, right? So definitely, thank you guys for the support that you continue to give the founders. But I can tell you, talking to that founder affected me in a way that I wondered, is there something else we could do that could be, even of more help, right? And obviously we've got to find the founders, right? So I found this one too late, right? Because now he doesn't have enough time, but he really needed us. So that's definitely making me go back and fine tune my process for how I seek out and find the founders. So, but we found this one. We found this one, and I was so happy when you called and said you wanted to come back. That's always a true testament to how you believe we added value. And so thank you for believing in us the first time, right? When we were fresh out the gate, right?
Yep.
You were number 5, so nobody knew who we were, right? So thank you for believing in us as well and for coming back. And we'll do this again. And on the 3rd round, we'll do it again. And we'll see you at IPO.
That's it, right? We'll be ringing the bell one day together, hopefully.
That's right. That's right. Go ahead, sir. You give your final words.
So, I think you kind of summed it up there. The main thing is, one, thank you guys for allowing just me to share Relay with you and share where we're going. Thank you for the folks who supported us last time. And, like I mentioned before, that was my morning coffee, just to see the comments and stuff come in as far as why they invest in what they believe in, whether they believe in me, whether they believe in Relay, they believe in just helping the mission that we're on. So I look forward to seeing, a lot of you guys drop some of those comments again as you invest, and really just kind of help cheer us on. And, our goal is to really build a community of helping drivers, carriers, our investors, really to achieve our financial and life goals. And so I think we're on our way there, and with your guys' help, we'll get there a little bit quicker. So thank you guys, and take advantage of that early bird terms before they run out, for sure, because they're there for you.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I don't see any other questions. So on that note, thank you, sir. Congratulations in advance. I'll continue to follow the campaign, and let us know if we could do anything at all. Anything at all, let us know, okay?
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Good night. Good night, everyone. See you guys next week.